Let's look at three more reasons that people would use to call for the ending of the Electoral College and replacing it with something else. If you look at this map, again, this is from 2016, but not all that different in the 2020 presidential election. There are very few states that actually decide the presidential election. Almost all of the states, we know through their history and their voter registration which candidate, the Democrat or Republican, is most likely to win that state. And one of the negatives of that is that again, you're sort of just voting in your state to determine who your state's going to support for president. You're not contributing to an overall national vote total. So, for example, if you are a Republican that lives in California, you are just ridiculously outnumbered. And again, you're just involved in your state selection of the presidential candidate. If you are a Republican, know that there's almost no chance that your candidate is going to get the most votes because it's winner take all. So you might not even bother voting. Same goes perhaps for traditionally a Democrat that lives in Texas, generally a pretty solid Republican state and a pretty solid advantage when it comes to registered voters for the Republican Party. If you're a Democrat, you may not even bother voting on election day because you know that within Texas, the chance of the Democratic candidate getting the most votes are slim. So you could argue that the Electoral College actually depresses voter turnout, and that if you were contributing to a national vote total, would make even Republicans in California and Democrats in Texas show up to the voting booths on election day. Also, there is the potential for faithless electors. What is a faithless elector? A faithless elector is an elector that's chosen by the state to go to their state capital in December and cast their votes. But instead of casting their vote for the candidate that the popular vote in the state reflected, they choose to vote for somebody else. All the states in the blue are states that essentially have laws that restrict these faithless electors. These electors that vote for somebody else, whoever they want to vote for, and not the way the people of the state wanted them to vote. Actually, in the spring of 2020, there was a legal challenge that was decided by the Supreme Court, filed by some of the states, members of some of the states in the blue, saying that as electors, they should be able to vote for whoever they want. And the Supreme Court basically upheld states that chose to have restrictions against faithless electors. The states in the gray don't have strong penalties against faithless electors, meaning that those particular states, the electors might vote for somebody else other than who the state indicated they wanted to be selected through popular vote. Here's an example again of 2016. These are the states that had faithless electors. These are the individuals who the electors were supposed to vote for. Obviously, Hillary Clinton was running against Trump. And instead of voting the way the citizens of the state wanted, the elector voted for somebody else. So in Hawaii, for example, the state supported Clinton, but instead the elector cast his vote for Bernie Sanders. That's what faithless elector is. And these are all examples of people that weren't even running for president and ended up getting votes from faithless electors. This is who they were supposed to vote for. This is who they actually cast their vote for. And then the last thing is, because again, we focused on this a lot, our system is winner take all. There's really no chance for third parties to win. You could argue that one of the major issues in our society today is that the Democrats and Republicans don't cooperate with one another because they don't have to. It's either like my way or your way. It's A or B, heads or tails. There is no other option, and they know that. And at least presidentially, again, the Electoral College makes it really, really difficult for third parties to win because you have to win an entire state, and the chances of them doing that are slim. Third parties have the ability sometimes to decide elections because candidates that are third party candidates, and a third party candidate is just someone that's not a Democrat or Republican, they may take votes away from the big parties, but they're not actually going to win electoral votes. So under this current system, third parties really can't win the presidency.